Why do you lose tightness in the hole when you squat? When you lower your body and you just can't maintain the pressure necessary to stay tight, to make the weight light. Because when you create enough pressure in your abdomen and your midsection, when you squat any heavy weight, it becomes a easy grind. It makes the heavier weights 80%, 85% light, and it's easy to do multiples. There are other times where you can't. And why do you lose tightness? I was doing a coaching Skype call with somebody, and we were talking about kind of why he's losing tightness. And I just sort of was talking out loud, thinking out loud. And one of my hypothesis, or sort of my conclusion based on my own experience, because I had the same problem. I posted this question to Reddit. Someone posted a video with Chris Duffin talking about the same thing on super training. And it was a helpful video. I've seen him talk about it before, and it's always been helpful, and I always work on it, but it's still kind of, it's hit or miss. And I was trying to understand why it was so hit or miss. I would create this pressure on my stomach, and then I would sit back, and then as I kind of get to maybe the first third of the squat, I don't lose all the pressure, but I lose probably about a half the pressure. So then when I have to come back up, so going down is no problem, but when I come back up, the weight feels heavier than it should. I don't know if that makes any sense. I hope it does. And I was talking to him, and because when I piece things together and when I explain things, a lot of it's from me coaching people for 15 years. It also comes from my background in education, all certifications I've taken, all the YouTube videos I've seen, and also just a lot of videos that I've been watching people that are smarter than me talk, and my knowledge of anatomy and my own experience in my own lifting and powerlifting and strength training, and also coaching people, and sort of kind of getting an opinion of everything. And what I'm beginning to realize is that, this is what I do know, is that people hyperextend. A lot of bad cueing. Because a lot of times the problems that a lot of people have when it comes to squatting is really keeping balanced and essentially controlling the spine. And sometimes when we have inflexible ankles and we have inflexible hips, or we don't have good mobility in the lower region, what ends up happening is we end up having to push our hips way too back, sort of like a low bar back squat. And this is mostly rooted in having really bad ankle mobility. Now, without necessarily pointing to ankle mobility, I'm going to tell you right now, at this 2 or 3 minute mark that's in the video, the biggest reason why he had a problem was, one, the reason what he was doing was that he was allowing himself to extend at the spine too soon. In fact, when should you extend at the spine as you lower yourself into a squat? You should not at all. You have 300-400 pounds on your back, 500 pounds, 90%. You need to go straight down. So what I told him, what I suggested, because based on my assessment of him, is that you need to focus on going straight down. And I sort of told him in a way that was in a novice-like way, and sort of my opinion, sort of just my view on kind of my own problems and seeing lots of other people. And the thing is, it's just lowering your body straight down into the hole. And I know that sounds so obvious, but the problem is, what I've been noticing with a lot of people, not just the consultations I've been doing online, but also people that I train and also my problems, is ankle flexibility. Ankle flexibility. So one of the things about having poor ankle flexibility, it causes you, when you begin to lower yourself into a squat, you start to, because you've lacked mobility in the ankle, what ends up happening is you're having to shift your butt really far back, so that way you can drive your heels, keep your heels on the ground. When you have, a good amount of weight on your back, you really can't squat. You've ever done this, when you squat down to the ground and then your heels come off the ground, right? Like picking up some keys or something, right? But when you have weight on your back, you can't really do that because you're going to lose your balance. It decreases your foot contact. So what you do instead is you focus on sitting back on your heels. Like one of the cues that Mark Ripito says is, sit back into your heels, sit down into your hips. And I know I've seen a video with Johnny Candido talking about how it's a really bad cue. And I kind of understand why now. But I didn't understand. But then I didn't understand. It took me a year to understand this, because I didn't understand it until I made a bunch of errors in my own training. And the problem is, you have to focus on going straight down. A lot of people that I've been noticing with this gentleman I was doing a coaching call with, and I'll probably post it later soon, is we recorded it, is not having enough forward knee movement. So since you can't, because forward knee movement is dorsiflexion, and if you don't have enough forward knee movement, you're going to have to put your hips further back and lean more forward to make that compensation. And in that case, what ends up happening is you're having to good morning a squat. And that is the main reason why. I was squatting today. I'll tell you what happened. I was squatting today, I think I was doing 2 or 3. Today I did 2 sets of 315. I'm trying to squat every day up until my meet, or as often as I can, just stay moderate, because I need to rebuild my patterns. is what I did as I lowered my body, which I focused on trying to, basically I would front squat for 2 reps and then I would back squat for 2 reps. And what I was noticing is that when I front squatted first and then back squatted, it was easier for me to stay focused on staying upright. And the one thing that's different is that when I start my low bar squat, or just any squat from that matter, even if it's a high bar, I still pitch forward first, come back down, and essentially you get this sort of effect as you go lower. Now that doesn't necessarily, I'm exaggerating of course, but the reason why you do that is because you're trying to keep the bar over your midfoot as you lower your body. The problem with having to stay fully upright and then lower your body requires a lot of dorsiflexion. You have to be able to get your knees to go very far forward. And of course you don't want your knees to dump in, so you have to push them out. And if you can't do that, your heels will come off the ground, you'll lose your balance. So the next compensation is to have to push your hips back. So what I noticed today when I was squatting is that if I created pressure and I focused on going down, forcing my knees to go just a little bit more forward than usual, I didn't break the spine. I wasn't creating that extension moment, and I was staying much more tighter as I lowered myself into the hole. So it felt a lot different, you know? You're talking about a difference of squatting like this and then squatting like this. And I don't know if you can tell. I'll show you again. Squatting like this and then squatting like this. The only difference that was there that I just showed you is just a little bit pitched forward or maintaining a more upright position. Now so I'm getting a little tongue-tied here, but essentially trying to stay more upright from the beginning of the movement, because a lot of the time we try to stay upright, but the way we sort of cheat it is we kind of pitch forward a little bit and then we correct by going up. I'm sure a lot of you have experienced this, that those that can, even if you have bad mobility, or just some issues getting ass to grass, is that you can go ass to grass, but before you get to ass to grass, you sort of have to like really good morning first and then sit back upright. I don't know if that makes any sense. Hope it does. And understand that the biggest problem with staying tight is that you fool yourself into thinking that you are tight, and you create all this pressure just before you begin to lower yourself into the squat. But what ends up happening is, in order for you to get down to below parallel or parallel for meet, for powerlifting meet regulations or just having a legitimate squat, is you, for a moment, you hyperextend or you push your hips back by arching the back, and then you correct by going straight again, and then you lower. So you sort of do that instead of staying upright. So again, all this is really by feel. You'll only understand this if you squat yourself and you've experienced this, and you'll understand it more as you train. If you have a question, please leave a comment below. I hope this really helps, because I was looking for this question and I don't think anyone's really articulated it. I'll talk more about it again, because it's good to talk about this particular thing. I'll also probably write an article about it. I just need to find a way to sort of abbreviate my discussion a little bit. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Click like if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber, and share this with someone that you know that's been having trouble squatting while staying tight. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.